Don't forget, it ain't the first 48 with 60 minutes.
Cover the king, best not miss. Even the score now, we need to score now. Back on that wall, when you hear that call, you know it's going down. We play from beginning to ending, you know how we finish. Turn to the bank, gotta handle our business. We need the ball, so it's time to go get it. Play with your heart when you hit, make like, who you win? You know I'm with. You come to the bank and get out of line, we sending a blitz. Say who you with? You know I'm with. That purple and black, and when we attack, you know what it is.
You're now locked in Zone 32.
There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Zone 32 podcast. Trippy will be back in a minute, but we have a trio right now. My name is Jake.
10 minutes.
10 minutes or so. Okay, so there you go. My name is Jake. His name is Drew. And driving from the car, trying to be Drew, is BT. There you go. I ain't gonna have you say what's up because we have things to talk about now. So yeah.
And we'd also just tell you to go fuck yourself. So
Fuck off, Jake.
Fuck off, BT. Go eat more chili spaghetti. Drew, you got ball hair coming out of your face, so fuck off.
Yeah, but at least I'm not a ginger, so I feel like I've won this.
Only partial though.
Do we address the elephant in the room to start? Before
that's right.
Yeah,
well, he is your boy, so you got to do his in memory.
Yeah, I mean he's dead. So Will died. Will died a couple months ago. We just didn't tell anybody. I didn't feel it was our place to break the news to society that Will is no longer with us. But so he's dead.
How'd he die?
The police have asked that we don't discuss the manner of his death. There's a criminal investigation behind it. He may or may not have crossed the wrong person, and they came to his house and bludgeoned him to death with a blunt object.
I heard some.
There's a weird sexual element to it too that I'm just not sure we're allowed to get into. So
I'm pretty sure we signed an NDA.
Yeah, I don't really care, to be honest. They can come get me. But yeah, so he's dead. We're gonna sell Rest in Peace Will T-shirts at some point. But yeah, I just thought everybody should know Will is no longer with us. So
Rest in peace, wearpurplepants.
I did a pretty good job keeping a straight face during that. That was impressive.
I didn't sign the NDAs. I heard that was incredible. I heard he was gobbling glizzies with no buns and extra Miracle Whip down near fucking Camden Yards to make $20.
Yeah, he may have gotten
caught something in the line of work.
He may have gotten the shit kicked out of him by Oriole security and then just turned up dead after that. Will's fine. I still talk to Will fairly frequently. I'm tired of pushing the Caitlin Clark bit because it was funny the first time, and now it's just kind of all right. He'll be back at some point.
Tired.
Yeah, he'll be back at some point. He's alive. He's well. And we'll see him at some point, I'm sure. But yeah, all right. So I would say Will dying is probably happy news for some of the people who hate listening to this podcast. But sorry to burst your bubble, Grand Wizard, or whoever the fuck else stalks our shit and listens. Not actually dead, but we do have some good Ravens news to get into. So,
yes, we do. So we touched on it last week a little bit about wanting Jaire Alexander to come to the Ravens for a good price. Well, ask and ye shall receive, because Lamar asked after one of the mandatory minicamp practices, and he got his wish because Jaire Alexander is a Raven. Signed a 1 year, $4 million deal, could be worth up to $6 million, depending if he hits certain incentives.
Yeah,
something like that.
I think they're mostly game played incentives too. So
it'll probably be closer to 6.
Yeah, I mean, he had to have been in the building when Lamar made that comment, right? There's no way that
for sure
Lamar made that comment without knowing that was a legitimate possibility that it was going to happen. And very clear that Jaire wants to be here. because I'm sure he could have gotten more money on the open market. I mean, Brandon Stevens is making $12 million a year. Tre'Davious White's contract was like $7 million a year. I know DJ Reed got paid a ton of money. And like Jaire's coming off a PCL tear, and I think he's played something like 14 games in the last 2 years. So like you could argue that, he's got some health issues going on. But when he plays, he's been very good for his entire career. Like, one of the best corners in the NFL. People were tweeting out graphics from, I want to say they were 2020, maybe 2021, that were, which lockdown corner would you want to start your defense with? And he was in all of those, or like, who's the best pass rush defensive back duo in the NFL, and he's including all those. So like, and this is a guy whose level of play has not fallen off from that. His only real question has been health, and some of it's he's been a little fragile. Some of it is, just, PCL tears and him being fragile. That's just unfortunate, and shit didn't go his way. I also feel like he was probably done in Green Bay and maybe didn't want to rush it back to play for them. I know that fan base in particular has been highly critical of him, and I feel like ownership, or not ownership, but because they don't really have an owner, but like the front office and people like that have kind of been critical of him for being injured. So, good for him. He got out of that situation. And I think that it's a huge pickup for our defense because you're bringing in a guy who's got, Pro Bowl, All-Pro potential.
Fucking days, I'm going to this.
Oh, BT's yelling at drivers. I was like, what? Yeah, he's, Jaire is a legitimate playmaker on defense, legitimate guy who forces turnovers, and that's something our secondary didn't really have last year. So I'm thrilled to have him here in Baltimore. I think it's a great pickup for us. And I think that we touched on that a ton last week, that, it's a guy that we bring in because last week the discussion was, oh, we don't need Jaire, but, we got him for next to nothing. So joke's on all you morons who didn't want him. Trippy, can you hear us?
Are you there,
Jake?
Trip?
Somebody?
Yeah. I'm here.
Yep.
I'm here. Y'all can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
At least for now. But
So thoughts on
Come on,
Jaire?
y'all.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. Don't bring that bad juju in here, bro. I got good service.
So Trippy, thoughts on the Jaire
you
signing?
finally got him.
I'm happy with it, but like I've been saying all week on the radio, like if we don't get the front four, if we don't get pass rushing, I feel like that shit pointless. But I mean, it kind of worked out in both favors. But I mean, we just gotta wait and see, man. But I mean,
I feel like I feel like putting Jaire back in that secondary kind of helps the pass rush a little bit. You got another guy who excels at man-to-man. And so, maybe you got another half a second for your pass rush to get home there with him versus Wouzier or Jalen Armour-Davis or TJ Tampa. So you just got another solidified guy on the back end that's going to buy
bro,
you.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. I ain't too high on that Wouzier kid, bro. Somebody sent me some footage of him last year, bro. Bro, I ain't gonna lie, bro. He gave me Brandon Stevens vibes, bro. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, but
yeah, I think that
bro.
he's a solid veteran corner. I don't think that he's a world beater. I don't think that he's a guy that we would have brought in and expected to make a Pro Bowl or anything. But I think he would have been fine as our starting, our starting corner. But now you're looking at him coming off the bench, and that's even better. Because you got a guy who's used to AFC North football, who's been NFL corner for a couple of years, like definitely knows the game and can definitely contribute something. So I feel like everything keeps coming up Ravens here with these kind of signings. I mean, we signed Jaire Alexander and DeAndre Hopkins for $10 million total this offseason, which is just fucking wild when you look at some of the contracts that people have gotten in free agency. Again, Brandon Stevens cost $12 million a year, and we spent $2 million less on D-Hop and Jaire Alexander, which just feels like robbery. Like, it feels illegal. So
it's mind-blowing.
Yeah, I love it. And again, it's just you can never have enough corners. I know that people kind of get pissy when we spend money on defense, but like, corner goes down and it fucks up your whole defense because you're throwing some fucking bum out there that can't cover. And so you're just adding another body out there, a guy who has a proven track record of being able to lock down elite wide receivers. And now he's here and he's in Baltimore. And again, wants to be here. Like, clearly took a pay cut to come here and is all about playing with Lamar again and definitely wants a ring. So I love the move, personally.
Without a doubt. Not to mention, those people that like to bitch about not spending necessarily on offense, I get it. The other half of that is you've seen teams become offensive. Like, look at the Steelers in the mid 20 teens, the Killer Bees or whatever. They put up numbers, they did all this shit, and they have nothing to show for it.
Yeah, it's all about balance. That you can't really overload one side of the football because you're not going to win football games that way.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, nothing but good things to say about that. The dumb argument that our fans are having, I know Trippy was talking about it online on Twitter earlier, but like people freaking out about what number he's going to wear. Like, who the fuck cares? He's on our team. That's the important part. I feel like that's what it's a great a great example of how our offseason has been, is that like the biggest arguments are what number is Jaire Alexander going to wear. Like, that's what people are getting caught up in because that's how good our team looks going into the year. So I'm very excited to see him, play. I know that he wasn't 100% healthy coming in, still recovering from that PCL. So I doubt that lingers into the regular season. But, for me, it's all about him being there for the playoffs. I think that's really what, matters for us. I think we've said that to death on this podcast, that we don't really give a shit about the regular season at this point. And it's all about, January and February for us. So that's just another guy that you're adding that can force a turnover in the playoffs or, lock somebody down in the playoffs that we haven't had in the past. So I'm excited to see what happens there. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on Jaire. I'm just, again, like, we just keep getting these guys. And, EDC seems to be I feel like this offseason has been...
EDC be cooking.
Well, I felt like in the past, I don't want this to come off as Harbaugh slander. Grant's not here, so I don't think this will be taken out of context. But I feel like Harbaugh had a lot of say over the roster, in the beginning of EDC's tenure. And I feel like a lot of guys that we signed and a lot of guys that we drafted were Harbaugh guys and not necessarily who EDC wanted. And this offseason feels a lot more like EDC is kind of stepping up and doing what he wants to do and building the roster with his vision in mind. And sort of John's taking a back seat there, which I like. Because, again, you don't have John Harbaugh here to build a roster. You have him to be kind of your... And again, if I say something like sideline cheerleader, people may take that as like a negative on Harbaugh, but it's not. That's what he is. He's a motivator, and he's a locker room guy, and he's looking to get all 53 guys to play to their best. Not so much, and he's not so much building a roster. You don't want him to do that, because I feel like that's bad. I feel like that's not his skill set. So the fact that we have kind of this offseason, we brought in D-Hop, who I've mentioned on the podcast a bunch of times. Like, Bill O'Brien said that he was going down the same path as Aaron Hernandez, and he had these, alleged blood ties in Houston, and he was, wasn't out committing crimes himself, but he was surrounding himself with bad people. And that's ultimately what led Hopkins to request the trade from the Texans, is that, like, he didn't want to play for a coach that was up his ass about who he was hanging out with. But again, that's a character red flag guy that I don't think we ever would have brought in the past. And now he's here. We've talked Mike Green to death, but again, that was a very anti-Ravens move in drafting a guy with sexual assault allegations, which I think that they vetted and they're comfortable are not a continuing issue for him. But still, I don't think that that's something they would have done in the past. I don't think they would have looked into that and, brought him in. Even getting rid of Justin Tucker, because Harbaugh is a huge loyalty guy. And, this is Tucker, who's been here for, 12, 13 years at this point. I don't think Harbaugh would have been quick on the trigger getting rid of him, and EDC definitely was. And then, again, you bring in Jaire. I don't think that was a Harbaugh move. So I feel like you kind of finally have EDC's fingerprints on everything, and he's really the one calling the shots. And I don't know if that was, like a Steve Biscotti edict and said, like, fuck this shit, I want to win. Or Biscotti. Or, EDC is
not doing his fucking bit this week, you rat bastard. Let him be Biscotti. I don't give a fuck.
It's Biscotti. He's named after the cookies. His family invented the cookies. It's just it is what it is. But I feel like this feels a lot more like an EDC production now, which I like. I think that he is one of the more underrated GMs in the NFL mostly because our fan base just fucking slaughters him for no reason on the internet. So, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled at the way things are going. I didn't think that we could have a more glowing review of the Ravens than we had last week, where we were basically just like, yeah, fuck the regular season. Like, it's all about winning the Super Bowl for us. And there's nothing to complain about, and there's no content to be had. And now we're sitting here like, oh yeah, there was no content to be had last week, and then all we did was we just added a former All-Pro corner who was, not falling off because his skills are diminishing, but because he was unhealthy for about 2 years. So, that guy's healthy, and it's it's just another body out there that's going to wreak havoc on opposing offenses. So, and again, also we have Chuck Pagano back. So, like, I know I was a big Doug Mallory guy. Jake hated him. I was a Doug Mallory guy because I'm a Michigan.
That was fucking right.
Yeah, well, you were wrong.
Fucking A, you were.
No, he won a national championship at Michigan. Just a great coach.
Yeah, it works in college. You can't work in the fucking pro level because he turned to alcoholism.
Sometimes, hey, look. Sometimes you can't make the transition. Sometimes you're just more built for the college game.
He spent too much fucking time just boozing it up after he fucking won the Natty. He was like, I forgot how to coach.
If you put him in a dirty, like, black faded hoodie and some sweatpants, and like put him on a street corner with a change cup, I feel like people would give him money. Like, he just kind of looks like a homeless guy who's like drinking all the time. But
what he probably wanted him to do is in San Francisco.
Yeah, it didn't work out. Was not because he was a bad coach. It just wasn't a fit for him. So you've now brought in Chuck Pagano, who is a seasoned NFL coach, and he's going to be coaching your secondary. So on top of massive additions by subtraction in terms of getting rid of Marcus Williams and Brandon Stevens and Eddie Jackson, you've now replaced them with Malachi Starks and Jaire Alexander. So, like, you've given Chuck Pagano, who has got a proven track record of being a successful DB coach, and you've given him much better players. So, like, secondary is no longer going to be a problem. Because I think that it was understated how bad our secondary was for the first 10 weeks of last year, until they benched Marcus Williams. And, it definitely showed. Like, they were giving up 300-400 yards passing every week, getting torched by fucking Gardner Minshew and Jameis Winston. And now all of a sudden, you've brought in, like, elite secondary talent. I don't think secondary is going to be a problem anymore.
No, it shouldn't be. If there's any potential issues on defense, maybe it's pass rush or maybe it's the run defense. But even then,
and even if you look at the pass rush,
we won't necessarily know.
We'll drop the David Ojabo. It's not a bit, but again, I'm pot committed to David Ojabo. I personally think that he's a very talented player that could work out. But the reality is, you now have another. You have Tavius Robinson, who's got another year of experience under his belt. You have Adisa Isaac, who didn't really play last year, but was around the team all last year. So, maybe he's going to take a step forward. You got Owe You got Owe in a contract year, which anybody who's followed the Ravens for any length of time knows that, this is the year that he goes off and gets 15 sacks. You drafted Mike Green. You got Matabike and Travis Jones in the middle of that line. You got Kyle Van Noy coming back. There's definitely the pieces there for the pass rush to work out. I understand what you're saying where, it could be a question because we haven't seen it, work. We haven't seen this unit, succeed. But the talent's there. So I'm not even as worried about the offensive or the defensive line. And then even if you look at the offensive line, we have I put training camp in the title. It's really mini camp, but same shit. Harbaugh said like the guard positions aren't set in stone. So, maybe it's Voorhees and Falele. Maybe it's Cleveland and Voorhees. Maybe Dellinger or Emory Jones challenges for a spot. But, regardless, I feel like once you get the offensive line solidified in terms of who you want to play, even then we could be more comfortable with the guards. Because the guards were a problem last year. But you also didn't go into last year expecting Patrick McCarry to be your starting left guard for most of the year. And he's gone now. He went and got paid by, I think it was the fucking Jaguars paid him a ton of money.
It was.
Stupid. Yeah, morons.
Rest in peace, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, you got fucking fragile Trevor Lawrence, and you're like, oh yeah, Patrick McCarry can block for him. But again, that guy's not here anymore. I thought Voorhees looked good in the limited stretches that he played last year. I think Ben Cleveland is, pretty much what you want out of an offensive lineman in terms of just like pure stupidity and size. And if somebody can figure out how to channel that into successfully running plays, like he could be a fucking problem in the NFL. So
absolutely, 100%.
The pieces are all there, and the hope is that Harbaugh puts the pieces in the right spot. I also think that, our offensive line coach dying right before the season started probably didn't help the offensive line last year. And so now you're going into a year with,
It did not at all.
Yeah, right. So this guy's been the coach for now a year plus, and there's going to be no sudden changes to the coaching staff there. So again, just another plus to the offensive line there. Again, you brought in DeAndre Hopkins, who was a former All-Pro, arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL for a couple years. And last year he had kind of a down year because he was hurt. The year before that he was playing in Tennessee, who fucking sucked. Like, this is a guy who's
catching passes from fucking Will Levis.
Yeah, Will Levis, Kyler Murray. You could go through like the Sage Rosenfels and all the fucking losers that he played with in Houston. And so
Brock Osweiler,
yeah. And so he got a little taste last year of making it to the Super Bowl and didn't quite win. So he's probably got to be hungry and motivated at this point. Rashad Bateman is what he is, but again, he seems to be ego-driven, and I can't imagine that he wants to take a step back and suck. He may very well do that, but I don't think that that's his goal. You got Zay Flowers, another year of Zay Flowers. Played all last year, but then got hurt and missed the most important game of the year. That guy's got to have a sour taste in his mouth. You got Isaiah Likely playing for a contract. You got Mark Andrews. Everybody wanted him dead last year. If there was ever a year for him to, come out and silence the fucking doubters, it would have to be this year. So, I mean, everything just looks like it's coming up Ravens at this point. You got a motivated team who's pretty solid across the board, and it's really just getting out there and fucking doing what you're supposed to do at this point. No more excuses. There's no glaring holes in this roster. It's just a team that is ready to fucking win football games. What is Pat Ford saying? Trade Zay to the Patriots. Fuck off, Pat Ford. No. Just fucking Patriots fans, man. I've had enough of them. One more person tells me Drake May is good at football, I'm probably going to lose my fucking mind. I wish Grant was here. I had a conversation. One of my cousins graduated college, law school actually. And so I went to a family party at his house last weekend, and he was yapping at me about how the Patriots are going to win 13 games this year, and Drake May is fucking great. And I'm just like, dude, what is wrong with you people? Why? I don't know.
Silly bastards.
I hate the Patriots again. Fucking Steelers are a joke, which I love. TJ Watt still isn't in camp for them. So that shit's all broken for them. Again, Bengals are still poor and a joke. And then the Browns are the Browns. What did Shedeur Sanders do?
Somebody driving 100 miles an hour in a 60. Something like that. I don't know.
I got to pop off here for a little bit.
All right, we'll be here. So just join when you get inside.
Fuck off, BT.
Fuck you, Jake.
Fuck you, motherfucker.
Great comment by Pat Ford, though. Browns are the Browns. They are. I mean, they are just a fucking...
They are.
Continuing source of entertainment for me. So, just absolute losers. I mean, I just can't see health is really the only thing for the Ravens that like factors into anything for me. Is everybody healthy? Because that's really going to be the only way that I see them not finishing the job this year for once. So I don't know. I'm pretty happy going into this season. Nothing else really came out of OTAs, right? I mean, I guess people are a little afraid of our kicking situation. I would also say that, like, it's practice and they're fucking kickers. Like, let's take a chill pill. And Justin Tucker sucked last year. So,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
not to mention.
Good.
Well, yeah. So not to mention. I mean, you drafted him in the 6th round. It doesn't guarantee he's on a roster spot. Justin Tucker is an undrafted free agent in 2012, and he beat out Billy Cundiff. So, I mean, somebody will come about. Maybe he's not the greatest kicker of all time, but someone will come in and get the job done. And even if he sucks, sometimes kickers take a minute to actually get decent, like Graham Gano.
Yeah, and that's the thing is we're not trying to replace Pete Tucker right now. Like, this is not prime of his career Justin Tucker, who everybody had said is going to be the greatest kicker of all time as long as he just continues to play at this level for a couple more years. Like, we're not replacing that guy. We're replacing the guy who made 70% of his kicks last year and was, bottom 10 in the league. And most of the guys that were, 1 through 9 were, came in and played 3 games when somebody got hurt or something like that. Like, hadn't played like a full season. I think out of anybody who attempted, I want to say the number was like 25 or more kicks, he was the worst. So, of like a regular solidified starter, you could not have gotten worse than Justin Tucker last year. So, not like we're replacing some fucking world beater. It's not the same guy that people remember who, won us the 2012 Super Bowl or things like that. Like, this is, or, made that 66-yard kick in Detroit. Like, it wasn't him last year. It was a different guy last year. So, even when we talk about the kicking and people being concerned about the kicking, I'm kind of willing to write that off and see what happens. I understand that, Justin Tucker was a huge part of this team for a lot of years, and he was very good for a long time, but he wasn't that anymore. And it was time to move on just from a football perspective, leaving out the fact that he liked to sexually assault massage therapists. Like, you can totally kick that to the curb and just look at this from a football standpoint. He was no longer that good anymore, and he's a fucking creep. So it's like, pick a struggle, pal. Like, either suck at football and be normal or be great at football and sexually assault massage therapists, but you can't do both. So, yeah.
That's right. Damn it.
Who doesn't? I don't know what that was in response to, but I'm sure I said something that was a little off the wall here. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just I'm very much looking forward to the season to start. So
absolutely, fucking week 1 can't come soon enough. But nonetheless, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Trippy, we haven't heard from you in a while. Just like in general, you've had connection issues and everything. What's on your mind, Ravens wise?
What's on my mind is I hope everybody stay healthy. I don't want to hear no bad news because I guess they don't come back to training camp.
Yeah, so
and we just have a safe training camp. I mean, yeah, like a month, but I ain't gonna lie, bro. I ain't got too much to say, bro. Like, I like the roster. You feel me?
Right. This is the first year I feel like this is the first year I feel like going into the season that there's not real questions in my head about this team. Like, there's guys that I would like to see step up and play better than they did last year. And there's some position battles I would like to get like some kind of I don't know, like a final answer on like who's going to be our starting guard, shit like that. But I'm okay with waiting for that. It's not like I need that answer today. You know what I mean? I'm actually like very positive about this team going into the year, which is kind of weird. Typically we have something to complain about and something to act like it's the end of the world, and I don't think that exists this year. I really can't think of a facet of this team where I'm like, fuck this, we got to fix this. I just don't think that
I agree. Exists. I definitely feel like this the year. Now, if you want me to be honest with you, like the only thing that probably scared me is probably like the special teams.
Yeah, and that's because
when I mean special teams, I ain't talking about like the returners. I'm talking about like Jordan Stout. Like, yeah, that's my guy, but you know, I used to play punter in high school. Like, bro, you gotta get them kicks. Like, even if you don't, like, how can I say it? Like, you gotta at least kick over 50 plus yards, or at least get the hang time with, though. We can't have none of them shank punts. You feel me? Justin Tucker, he gone now. We got a new kicker. I mean, they was only in shorts and
Yeah,
helmets,
right. So
right? I
it
mean, he
wasn't a
what?
real game situation. So I'm not gonna like freak out about him missing kicks in practice. It is practice, you know. So it's not
Yeah,
not
but
like
I mean, as a kicker, you
I would
still
like
should be making them though. But I mean, I
yeah, like
understand.
no, I mean I'm with you. Like I'd rather not hear that he went 3 of 5 or 2 of 4, or he missed a 40-yarder and an extra point. Like, yeah, I would rather not hear that. I also don't think it's the end of the world that he missed that in fucking June. You know, like talk to me when the season starts is where I would look at that. And special teams is always a concern for us. Whether it's, you know, kick coverage and not giving up a fucking random kick return here or there, or, you know, our punt returns have been terrible. Our kick returns have been like us in terms of, you know, flipping field position has been pretty bad over the years. I think you're the one that said it. Like Talon Wallace has been our primary kick returner and punt returner for a couple of years, and he never even did that shit in college. But now we have this Wester kid in who was like a kick return specialist. You got another year of Keaton Mitchell being healthy, and he's made some comments about wanting to, you know, make an impact on special teams and in the kick return game. And I think he's got the skill set to do it. So, yeah, I mean, even if you look at special teams, like obviously you're always going to be a little bit hesitant because you're replacing Justin Tucker and Chris Horton is still the special team coach. But even that, I'm like, we have the pieces there to compete and to do well, and it's just whether or not they execute. And that's really what the season is going to come down to is execution. It's not about the guys we have. It's about if we can do what we're supposed to do, which is kind of a nice feeling. It's really all on the players now. It's not on, you know, a coach or front office to fill out the roster. Like the roster's there. I mean, anything we add to the roster, like I know people are talking about, you know, do you go get Justin Simmons? Do you go get Jadeveon Clowney? I think Brandon Scherf's unsigned. Which is again a veteran guard that, you know, maybe you bring in last minute because you don't like any of your options there. But like even if we just pick up one of these veteran guys in July or August, like it's just icing on the cake at this point. So there's really nothing bad that can happen to this team other than injuries at this point.
Yeah, I agree. But like you said, like Keaton Mitchell, like just hearing him say he want to be like a Devin Hester, like he want to have that Devin Hester effect. And I feel like that'll definitely help. Because, I mean, if every kick return, we could at least get to the 35-yard or at least the 30, 35, you feel me?
Yeah, it's
That's a
those extra
plus, you
yards.
feel
Those
me?
extra yards always help.
And
And I
then my
feel like
guy, LeJohntay, what's his name? LeJohntay?
yeah, LeJohntay Wester, who everybody fucking loves.
Yeah, him. I love him, bro. Like, I feel like he going to get some playing time on the offense. And I feel
Yeah,
like he going to be like a big, he gonna be big on a kick return.
yeah. The only thing with him
I
is
mean,
that
punt return.
the good thing with him is that, you know, typically when we bring in like a 6th-round wide receiver like that and people go nuts and hype him up, it's kind of like, well, he's a 6th-round pick. He's not going to be our wide receiver too. Like, let's be fucking serious. But we're not expecting him to be our wide receiver too. You know, so anything we get out of him is a plus. And I feel like that's like a good spot to be in. You know what I mean? You come in expecting nothing from him, and everything that he gives you is just gravy. So even that, like, you know, you look at any of our young guys, like there's really nobody besides Malachi Starks and Mike Green, I would say, that have any like real tough expectations on them as a rookie. I feel like everybody else coming in is kind of in a spot where there's solidified starters ahead of them and that they're just looking to kind of crack a rotation rather than come in and be legitimate contributors day one, which is huge. I mean, that's got to be huge for a rookie coming in. You've never played in the NFL before. It's a big change from college. And, you know, you're not coming in with all these lofty expectations that, you know, you got to come in and be a difference maker. You just got to come in and get better and play your game. And that's huge for development. So I don't know, man. I feel weird being this positive about the team, but like I don't know how else I can look at the Ravens and feel so.
No, I'm right there with you. Everything looks promising, especially on paper. Games still got to get played, but right now things look good. Now it's just go get it done. Style points don't matter. Like seeding doesn't matter. Just go get it done.
And we also have some, early tests in the schedule. That's the other narrative I've been seeing Ravens fans push on Twitter is that like their first 6 weeks is tougher than anybody else and blah blah blah. But I think that's a good thing. You kind of come out of the gate and you're playing some legitimate talent up front. Within the first 6 weeks of the season where you stand in terms of being able to compete with playoff teams. And if there is a spot that's struggling or there's some change that needs to be made, like I feel like getting that test out of the way early is huge. You kind of know where you stand early on and you can adjust. And Ravens have always been great at adjusting. Around the deadline and especially after the bye week. So, you play some of these good teams up front, you kind of see where you stand, you reevaluate, and then you go from there. I feel like the main reason we didn't see Falele get benched last year was that, we were 13 weeks into the season before those, before everybody was really on board of like, this guy sucks and we need to get rid of him. And so at that point, you've kind of solidified your offensive line and you don't really have the time to make changes. So it, even that, like we can make those changes early in the year this year, hopefully. We lost Trippy.
Maybe like that.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. I'm just, I'm fairly excited, and it is great watching our division rivals fall apart. Zamboni just said, signing Scherf also prevents Cincy from getting a good guard. Which,
even then, they've been fixing their offensive line on paper for the past 4 years now. They've made consistently bad investments, so I wouldn't buy a Brandon Scherf and fix their offensive line either. So,
no, but
all things considered,
keeping good players away from Cincy is always a good move, though.
Yeah, that is true.
My favorite Joe Burrow is a Joe Burrow flat on his back after getting sacked. So,
being on his back more than an OnlyFans model, it's a good thing.
Yeah, that's the hope. Is that you spend all this money on Higgins and fucking Chase and you can't get the ball off. So.
Yep.
And they really don't have a running back there. They don't have much. So exciting.
They had last year. Brown was decent, but yeah.
Yeah, they're okay running back, but they don't have like a game breaker. So they don't have anybody that's going to come in and fucking change that offense at all. Again, even the Steelers, like Najee Harris was a waste of a first-round pick, but he was a solid player. Yeah. Yeah, if you looked at Najee Harris as a first-round pick, you could probably call him a bust. But when you look at what he gave to their offense, he kind of had Gus Edwards vibes of like you drew up a play that was supposed to get you 4 yards, he was going to get you 4 yards. And they don't have that anymore.
Nope, they do not. Because
you just have fucking whack job Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf who are not going to win you that many games. So
no, not at all. Not this Aaron Rodgers. This isn't the dude that's the back-to-back MVP for 2020 and 2021. Plus, he's learning a new offense. So, I'm not sold.
How crazy is it that he just, like, delayed signing this long, too?
I know, right? Yeah. Like I'm going to go ahead and take my time in learning these new players and this new scheme. It's not like Favre when he went to the Vikings.
It's not like he was going to go back to a team that he had played for 10 years and he was just like mulling retirement or whatever. Like he's going to a whole new city, whole new division, whole new coaching staff, whole new offensive line, whole new wide receivers. He's not going to be able to fucking figure that out that quick. And like you said, he's, what is he, 42 now, 41? Like,
yeah, he's going to be 42 this year.
Yeah, he's just kind of stuck in his ways. He is what he is. So like, it's a bad spot for him, which I love. I love watching the Steelers struggle. Realistically, they're still going to win 9 games, and being like the wild card.
That's what they do.
But they're gonna beat the teams they should beat. They'll probably win a couple games that they shouldn't win, and then also
they'll lose one that they should.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we're going to be talking about like, oh, are Steelers legit? And then the answer is always no, they're not legit. So
9-3, only to go 1-5 the rest of the way.
yeah, they'll start off
Mahomes.
hot. They'll hit a wall, and then they'll just kind of flounder to the finish. Steelers
We
need to
gonna start
extend.
off like 7-0, and we definitely gonna sweep the division this year.
Hey, I'm fucking in.
But then again, I don't know. We
Yep.
might lose that last game to the Steelers because
Well, and the reality
we're
is, I
gonna be
mean,
resting up for that number 1 seed.
it's unavoidable that we're going to lose a game early in the year that we should win. Like, that's just Ravens football. We'll win a game that, ball just kind of bounced our way and we didn't play great, but we'll also lose a game against somebody that we just absolutely have no business losing to. But that doesn't matter. That's fine. It's all about getting to the playoffs and limiting those kind of stupid plays. I mean, like, even if you look at other teams in the AFC, Bills have never scared me. I know they beat us in the playoffs twice, but it's been like weird circumstances that led to them winning those games. Whether you look at like a bad snap and Lamar getting a concussion, or wet Andrews not being able to catch fucking 2-point conversion, or thinking that he's
Or fumbling the ball.
Yeah, it's thinking that he's some 175-pound burner that can run east to west and beat guys out. Like just weird shit keeps making us lose those games. So they really don't scare me. I don't want to write off the Chiefs, but again, like it just kind of looks like the Chiefs are coming to an end there. They look beatable.
As long as you can get to Pat. If you can get to Pat, he's mortal.
Yeah, if you hit, I mean, that's the thing with every quarterback too. Like you hit somebody enough, they're not going to be the same guy.
Yeah.
And it's easier said than done. And Spags runs a great defense. It sucks that he won't take a head coaching job somewhere else because like I feel like he's been a key to their success for a couple years here, and nobody really talks about it. But like I would love for him to get out of Kansas City because I think that he is the bigger difference maker than Andy Reid on that coaching staff. But again, like they lose talent every year. You pay Patrick Mahomes all that money. You got to start paying. They paid their offensive linemen. Like they got rid of Joe Tooney this year, who was kind of a big part of their offensive line. And I just think that they start getting a little weaker. Guys start getting a little older. You got some questions at wide receiver. You don't really have anybody outside of really Karlaftis and Chris Jones on the defensive line. McDuffie is fine at corner, but like, is he really that good? I don't know. So they even seem beatable to me. I mean, like this just screams Ravens year to me. And I hate making that proclamation in June, but like if they stay healthy and they do what they're supposed to do, I don't think anybody can beat them.
If they don't beat themselves, they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Right, and that's, again, easier said than done. Like the Ravens have shown year after year that when you put them in that big spot, they will shoot themselves in the foot occasionally. And
I feel like they all need to watch that really cringeworthy Trenton Dilfer "you can't lose games and expect to win" clip, which is really funny, but it's applicable to them because they find ways to lose games.
It was a really stupid statement, but it was very true.
Yes.
That Trent Dilfer clip of, you don't win games that you lose. And it's like, well, duh. But also, like, he's right. Like, don't turn the ball over, Don't make the dumb play. Don't make the costly mistake. And I feel like we've always made that costly mistake. And I'm just kind of hoping that this is the year we don't make that costly mistake.
Yep. Don't beat yourself. Play sound, fundamental football. You'll go on to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at the NFC, like, nobody really scares me in the NFC. I mean...
Yeah, agreed. I don't think Philly's going to repeat.
We had the Eagles beat last year if Justin Tucker wasn't a fucking terrorist and could make kicks,
Yeah, and if we protected Lamar better.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, who else out of the NFC? Like, the Vikings are probably going to be solid, but again, the Vikings always seem to choke when it matters.
I think the Vikings might be a third-place team. It'll be close between them and the Packers.
We own Jared Goff.
Yep.
Jared Goff is a perennial, put him in a big spot, and he's going to have his worst game of the year. So, again, doesn't really scare me. Washington, I feel like they're just going to ruin Jaden Daniels because that's what they do to young quarterbacks.
Yes, they do.
You know, he's electric. He's a very good player. They've made a lot of smart acquisitions this offseason, but you know, they still wear that burgundy and yellow, and I feel like that's just who they are, is that they're going to do something fucking stupid when it matters.
Yep.
Kyle Shanahan is a choke artist, you know, and
Notorious.
they just paid Brock Purdy a ton of money, so God only knows where they've skimped on this offseason.
Yet they didn't pay him Dak Prescott money, which I was surprised by. I thought he was probably going to exceed that, and he's making Jared Goff money now.
Well, I think I think Brock Purdy is smart enough, you know, the analysts are not smart enough to say this, the Monse Bolanos and, you know, morons of that caliber who are talking heads on television, but like, I think he's smart enough to know that he can't take $60 million a year because he needs people around him and he needs people to block for him and he needs people to throw the ball to. You know, and he's got Pearsall and McCaffrey and Ayuk, so you know they could be okay.
Jennings too. They have a talented team. It's just again,
yeah. And you know what is Mike
health and beating themselves.
Yeah, what does Mike McDonald do in year 2 with a better quarterback than Geno Smith? And I think Sam Darnold's better than Geno Smith. I'm not sure of that.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, you know, like I think that Sam Darnold could be a bit of an upgrade there, which might kind of take them to the next level. But then they also traded away DK Metcalf. So, like, Jackson Smith and Jigba is fine, but he's not DK Metcalf. So I don't know how that team looks. And, you know, that's really, you know, again, like you look at back to the AFC, look at the Texans, like they've made a ton of moves to get better, but we fucking own CJ Stroud. So, again, I'm not really concerned about like beating them when it matters. You know, Colts, Titans, they fucking suck. Jaguars fucking suck. Like, I don't know. I just, again, I look at the rest of the NFL, and I'm trying to not do this through like purple tinted glasses, but I just look at everybody else, and I'm like, the Ravens got better where they needed to get better, and there's no more excuses for them coming up short. You know what I mean? There's no more beating yourself in a big spot. There's no more of that shit. You just got to fucking get it done this year.
Absolutely. What was I going to say? I mean, the Rams could be a contender on the NFC, but I also think they're kind of older too. With Stafford getting older and his arm not being the same.
Right.
We see them this year anyway.
I trust Stafford in terms of, you know, you look at like quarterbacks around the NFL who have been there and who have won and who are going to be smart with the ball, that it matters. And like, I definitely put him in that category. But like you said, he's also old and he got the shit kicked out of him for all those fucking years in Detroit. So he ages faster than other quarterbacks. So it's like, you know, Sean McVay is a smart coach, but they don't really have like an Aaron Donald caliber guy on defense anymore. I just don't know if they have the pieces, like the young pieces, to really compete. So I'm not going to write them off, but I'm also not afraid of them.
No. I mean, realistically, there's no dominant team in the NFL anyway, so there's no one you should really be afraid of. Like, there's not that much separating the worst team in the league from the best team in the league today. The NFL's become pretty parity-driven now, where shitty teams can be good 1 year later. Great teams can be mired by injuries and finish in the top 15 of the draft.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at most sports books, they have the Ravens as the favorite to win the Super Bowl right now. That's not by accident. I know that people get upset when we mention that because nobody likes the Ravens being a favorite, but like, it is worth noting, you know, people who are a lot smarter than us, you know, bookmakers are looking at the 2025 season and they're like, yeah, I think it's got to be the Ravens' year. So I like that. I like being in this spot. It's a nice change of pace instead of, you know, going into the year hoping like some fucking, you know, Nelson Aguilar is going to pop off for 1,000 yards. Like, we don't need that kind of shit anymore. Nope, not at all. You know, we just need guys to show up and be themselves, which is nice. We're not expecting anybody to. Nobody has to play above their head for us to be a good team. So.
And on that note, that's good.
Trippy, do you have any final thoughts for us? Well, that was very.
Hold up, my bad. Say it again, bro.
I was about to say.
My shit went out. I just came back in.
Yeah, no, I had you back.
Huh?
I was gonna say, do you have any final thoughts for us?
Hello?
Yep, we can hear.
Yeah, y'all Raven fans, man, stop blaming John Harbaugh. At the end of the day, the Raven players, they got locked in. You feel me? They on this revenge tour, so we gonna see what happens. And I wish y'all stop fighting over fucking jersey numbers, man. That shit don't matter. As long as we got the player on the team, that's all that matters.
Yep, only numbers that matter are the ones on the scoreboard.
Let's get ready for training camp.
Let's fucking do it.
Truer words are never spoken.
Let's fucking do
on
it.
That note, that's gonna do it for this week. We'll be back at some point just to discuss this, that, and the other. But meanwhile, it's time for me to die. See ya.
See ya.